Hey there, my name is Lexi, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 common misconceptions that people have about the recording engineer at a recording studio. Now, you may be an artist who might be new to this recording process, and maybe you're going to your first session, you want to know what to expect, or maybe you are a well-seasoned or established artist and you just want to get a better understanding of what the role of the engineer is. Well, in this video I'm going to be debunking 5 common myths that a lot of people have about recording, tracking, and audio engineers. So, let's get started. Myth number 1, the engineer tells the artist what to do. No, that is not the role of the engineer. The engineer is not there to tell the artist how to perform a song or what to perform. The main role of the engineer is to make sure that you, the artist, are getting a great sound quality when you're recording. Above any commands, maybe like move closer to the mic or move further away from the mic, or maybe say something more clearly, the engineer might give you those common commands, but the engineer is not going to tell you things like add more air, or you're singing a little flat or a little sharp, point up when you're singing, smile while you're singing. That's not the role of the engineer. A lot of people actually get the engineer confused with a vocal producer. A vocal producer is the person who's going to tell the artist, you, how to sing the song, what things you can do to make sure you're enunciating, or make sure that basically the emotion is attached to your performance while you're recording. So the engineer does not tell the artist what to do during the session. Myth number 2, the engineer makes sure the song sounds good. Yes. In a sense of making sure that the song is very high quality or really good recording quality and everything is clean and crisp and clear, that is true. In regards to making sure that it's a good song, now there are a lot of things that make a song a good song, and that's another topic for another video, but as far as the sound quality and making sure that everything sounds clean and clear, yes, the engineer is in charge of that. Now, I have said in previous videos before that it's possible to record a really bad song with great sound quality. So, yeah, the engineer will make sure that the song sounds good. Myth number 3, the engineer mixes the song during recording. Yes and no. So during the recording process, the engineer is actually going to make sure that your vocals are sitting just right on top of the beat. You know, the beat is not too low underneath your vocals, or your vocals aren't too low underneath the instrumental or buried so where you can't hear it. The engineer is supposed to make sure that it's at a nice level so that your voice is sitting just right in a nice little pocket. And if you have any if you have any track outs for your instrumental, with different instruments, the engineer will make sure that those instruments are panned properly and that those levels also aren't clashing, and they're not clashing with your voice or the overall sound of the whole track. Now, that's just what's called a rough mix. That's a quick little mix that the engineer is going to do during the session, and they'll send that to you, obviously, and that's just to give you something to ride around to in your car or to put on your phone and listen to, so you can have some time to sit on it and decide if you need to change anything or if you want certain things brought out more so than the others. But that is a rough mix. The engineer, depending on what you hired the engineer for, is not going to do the official mixing during the session. Now, unless you and your engineer talked about this prior, the engineer is not going to do a complete, the mix. So the mix is a completely different process from giving you a rough mix. In the official mix of the song, the engineer is going to make sure that everything is literally just right, and the engineer is going to go through and do every little detail, like trimming some of the tracks, getting rid of the dead silence in some of those tracks, or if you have this really annoying sound, I'm really bad about this when I record, but if you have that crackly sound while you're recording in your voice, like if you have that, the engineer is gonna go in and make sure that that is, non-existent or as minimal as possible. But that's completely different from the recording process. So during the recording process, yes, you will get a rough mix, but that is not the official mix that you want to use for your song. And I'll talk about that when your song is ready in a different video. There's recording, there's mixing, and then there's mastering. I'll touch on that in another video. Send me any questions if you have some about those processes. But the next myth number 4, the engineer produces the music. No, the engineer is not a producer. the engineer is not a beat maker. Now, in a sense, the engineer is part of the creative process as far as making sure that you have good sound quality. But the engineer is not the person who actually makes the beat or the instrumental or the thing that you're singing over. That's not what the engineer does. So don't get those two confused. A producer, or as most people know it, it's called the beat maker. That's not the engineer. They can be the same thing, but in general studio settings, they're not the same role. Myth number 5, the engineer sets the vibe of the session. So especially with this misconception, a lot of people think that it's the engineer's job to run the session, and that's really not the case. The engineer, at least how I was taught and how I think it should be, the engineer is supposed to be like a fly on the wall in the session, seen but not really heard. The engineer is there to do what you tell the engineer to do, or make the song sound the way you want it to sound. So when I say that, don't expect the engineer to just come out right and give his or her opinion on how they think you should perform the song or how they think you should do it. If you want the engineer's input, you have to explicitly say that you want the engineer to tell you if something's not right, or if you're not performing it in a believable kind of connection with the song. But if you don't tell the engineer that, the engineer, all the engineer has to do is sit back and make sure that you get a good sound quality recording. The engineer is not in charge of making sure that you're giving your best performance. You as the artist, you should already know what you want out of your song and what you're going to do to achieve that. So if you don't know that, then that could cause things in the session to move a little bit more slowly. And again, if you want the engineer's help, you can ask the engineer to give you some suggestions on what you can do to help move things along. But the responsibility of the whole vibe of the session, that falls on the artist. If you don't know what you want, then how are you going to expect everybody else in the room to be able to go along with you? You have to make sure that you are, again, prepared and that you know what you want to do, how you want to do it, and you can communicate that to the engineer, how everything is supposed to be. So, yeah. You, the artist, the vibe is all on you. It's a vibe. It's your vibe. So tailor it to how, whatever makes you most comfortable in a session. But yeah, so those are the 5 common misconceptions that a lot of people have about the recording engineer, also called the tracking engineer or an audio engineer. And thanks for sitting with me to debunk some of those myths. If you have any other myths that you might want me to address, or just any other questions about the overall role of an engineer, then please email me your questions or leave those in the comments below, or let me know if you have any expectations from your engineer. I'd really like to know. Let me know in the comment section. But if you like this video, I was about to say movie. If you like this video, please remember to give me a big thumbs up. Leave comments in the section letting me know what you liked about it, or ask me additional questions to address in future videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you can be notified each and every time I come out with a new post each week. And thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace. I would rather have food than material things given to me. Unless it's money. You could give me money anytime and that would make me happy as well. But the quickest way to my heart is to feed me some good food. Don't try to impress me with fancy gifts, because after a while those things are not even useful.